Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. My name is Fajratul Maulidia. I'm from Class C of English Education Department 2018. And here, I would like to tell you, to explain you about my lesson plan that I have made before. Okay, now we are going to the lesson plan. Okay, for the first is name of teacher. Here, I wrote the name of teacher is Fajratul Maridia. It's my name. So, the name of school, MTS NU Harian. The subject is English. The grade, class 9 of junior high school. And the topic is this is how you do it in chapter 5. In a book that is in chapter 5, okay? So the text type is procedure text. The skills are speaking and writing, and the time location, one time, 15 minutes. Okay, for the next is core competence. Here, the core competence in 2018 curriculum, they are, the first is to appreciate and practice the teaching of the religion. So, to demonstrate the honesty, discipline, responsibility, caring or tolerance, cooperation, politeness, confidence, in interacting effectively with the social and natural environment within the reach of association and existence. So, to understand knowledge or factual, conceptual, and procedural based on curiosity about skills, technology, arts, culture related to visible phenomena and events. So, the last, to try, to process, and to present in a concrete domain or using, parsing, arranging, modifying, and making an abstract domain or writing, reading, counting, drawing, and composing in accordance with what's learned in school and some other source in the perspective or theory. Okay, the next is about basic competence and indicators of competence achievement. So, we are going to basic competence firstly. The first is to compare social functions, text structure, and linguistic elements of several procedure texts, oral and written, by asking and providing information related to food or drink recipes in manuals, short and simple, according to the context of their use. So, the second of basic competence is to capture contextually the meaning related social functions, text structure, and language elements of procedure text, oral and written, short and simple, in the form of recipes and manuals. So, about the indicator of competence achievement. The first, to identify structure of genre text about procedure text. So, to describe genre text about procedure text according to the structures. So, the next, to present the procedure text about recipes and manuals that has been prepared in front of class. So, to write down a procedure text about recipes and manual correctly, politely, and appropriately. Okay, now we are going to talk about learning objective. So here, at the end of class, there are two learning objectives. The first is the students will be able to present procedure text about recipes and manuals in front of class grammatically and meaningfully. So the second, the student will be able to create or to make their own procedure text about recipes and manuals through group discussion grammatically and meaningfully. So about the attitude versus focus. Here, there are 4 attitudes versus focus. The first is religious. The second is self-confidence. The third is creative. And the fourth or the last is discipline. So, we are going to talk about learning materials. About the learning material, there is regular learning materials. The first is fact. The fact here consists by starting and responding or expected or unexpected. So the concept here, the concept consists by social function and procedure text is a text that explains or helps us how to make or use something. Okay, this is the example. Okay, now we are going to talk about the principle. The generic structures, they are 4 generic structure and procedure text. The first is goals or aim. So, goals or aim includes the objectives of the activity or things that we'll do or made later. So, the next is materials or tools. The materials or tools includes the materials or tools that need to make a thing or to do something. In procedure text, material is optional or not always be there. So for the steps, is a series steps or tips that must be done. So the conclusion or the result. Now, the conclusion or the result includes the end result that what has been done according to the steps that have been done. So, the dominant language feature about procedure text, this is the first, using imperative. Using imperative or kalimat perintah is like stir in sugar and water. So, using simple present tense, menggunakan simple present tense. The example, place flour in a bowl. So, the action verbs, the place apple in a heat-proof dish. So, the connective of sequence. The example are then, well, next, after, and etc. So, and the last is numbering. It's like first, second, third, and etc. Okay, for the next, it's about procedure. The first is writing procedure text about recipes and manual. So, reading procedure text about recipes and manuals too. So, about learning materials for remedial, here, procedure text about food or drink recipes and manuals that are good, interesting, and simple by asking further on food or drink, recipes, or manuals. So, for the learning material for enrichment, social function, generic structure and language features, and procedure text in form of food or drink recipes and manuals, both oral and written. Okay, for the next is learning method. Okay, here I choose 2 learning method. The first is approach. Approach is scientific approach and learning model. I use audiolingual method. So for the next is learning media. Learning media, here I use 4 learning medias. They are whiteboard, marker, textbook, and laptop. Okay, now we talk about the learning source. Here there are 4 learning source. The first is Kementerian Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan 2017, buku siswa mata pelajaran bahasa Inggris kelas 9, Jakarta, Kementerian Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan. The second is https www.englishcalva.co.id pengertian procedure text dalam bahasa Inggris beserta contohnya. http://britishcourse.com Procedure text definition, generic structures, purpose, language, features, PHP. So, and the last is another open source. Here I have many sorts. I mean, in the last point, this is. Okay, next continue. We talk about the teaching and learning activity. The first is opening activity. We have 2 minutes for the opening activity. So here the orientation. The first is doing the opening by reciting salam and praying to start the lesson. The second is checking the presence of the students as the reflection discipline behavior. So preparing the students to follow the process of learning genre text about the procedure text. So the next is a perception. Here, a perception, the first is connecting the learning materials, the activities that will be done to the students' experience in the previous level, class 8 of junior high school. So, the reminding of the frequency materials by asking the students. And the last, asking the questions related to the lesson that will be done. And then, about motivation. Here, the motivations are the first, giving the description of the benefit to learn the materials. So, if this material or the project has done well and seriously, the students will be able to explain the procedure text. So, telling the learning objectives to the students. And the last, asking the question. Now, we answer to the giving reference. Here, there are 4 points about the giving reference. The first is telling the students about the materials that will be discussed today. So, telling the core competence, basic competence, indicators, and minimum graduation criteria of the meeting. And then, dividing learning group. And the last, explaining mechanism of the implementation of learning experience based on the learning steps. Okay, now about the main activity. We have 12 minutes about the main activity. Here, learning model syntax, teaching and learning activities. So here, stimulation atau stimulasi. And then, literacy activities. Here, students are given motivation or stimulation, focus attention on the topic that they study. So by doing some ways here, the first is viewing without or with tools, display relevant pictures or photos or videos. So the second is about observing here, read procedure text about food or drinks, recipes and manual on the whiteboard. So the third is reading in their own home before the teaching learning activities. Here, students are asked to read material from textbooks or other supporting books from the internet or related material. So for the listening, students are asked to listen to the material that given by the teacher which is related to procedure text in form of food or drink recipes and manuals on chapter 5, page 79 in a book. So, create and present about procedure text. Okay, now we talk about the critical thinking. So here, problem statement or question or problem identification. So, The teacher gives students the opportunity to identify as many questions as possible related to the material presented and will be answered through learning activities. For example, asking the questions about what is procedure text, what is the purpose of procedure text, so how to make sentence of food or drink, and manuals, so which is not understood from what is observed, or question to get an additional information about what is observed, or starting from factual question to hype to hypothetical questions to develop creativity, curiosity, the ability to formulate questions to form critical thought that need to live smartly and lifelong learning. For example, here, the first is the meaning of procedure text. So, the generic structure and dominant language features of procedure text, the function and the steps for procedure text. Okay, now we are talking about the collaboration and critical thinking in data collection. Okay, here the students gather relevant information to answer the question that have been identified through the activity. It's like observing the object or phenomena, interviewing the informant, collecting the information, reading other source beside textbook. Is like students are asked to explore their knowledge by reading reference books about how to present procedure text about food or drink recipes and manuals in front of class, and then representing so activities. Here learners do the following activities. The students work in group to analyze the general, functional, and dominant language features of the procedure text about food or drink recipes and manuals. So the students present their procedure text in front of class. So the next discussing is like diskusi seperti itu, reviewing, exchange information about how to make good procedure text. Here, by being actively responded by students from other groups in order to obtain new knowledge that can be used as material for group discussion later, and blah blah blah. Okay, now we are talking about the critical thinking in data processing. So here, the students in their group discuss processing the observations data in a way. So discussing about the data is like how to identify structure of genre text about procedure text, how to describe genre text about procedure text according to the structure, how to make procedure text about recipes in manuals, how to present their procedure text in front of class that have been collected or summarized in previous activities, or 4C. So, processing information that has been collected from the result of previous activities or meetings, as well as the results of observing activities and the activity of gathering information that is ongoing with the help of questions on the worksheet. So, students doing their performance by presenting their procedure text in front of class or in front of other. Okay, now we are talking about the critical thinking in verification. So, learners discuss the results of their observations and verify the results of their observations with data or theory in the source book through activities. Adding breadth and depth to process information that is looking for solutions from various sources that have different opinions to develop honesty, conscience, discipline, obeying the rules, hard work, the ability to evaluate procedures, and the ability of inductive and deductive thinking in improving. So, presence in front of class about the procedure text include with the students and the teachers. The teacher discuss together simple about the simple procedure text that have been met by the students. Okay, now we talk about the communication in generalization. Okay, here the students are discussing to summarize, deliver the results of discussion in the form of conclusions based on the results of the analysis verbally and writing or other media to develop an attitude of honesty, conscientiousness, tolerance, ability to think systematically, express opinions politely. So, present the results of the classical group discussions about procedure texts that are interesting and phrases, express opinions on presentation made and respond to by the group presenting. So, as about the presentation and other students are given the opportunity to answer them. So, summarize the important points that emerged and the new learning activities carried out in the form of a written observation report about procedure texts that are interesting and phrases. So, answering questions contained in the student's handbook or worksheets that have been provided. So, ask questions about things that are not understood or the teacher throw a few questions to students, complete the competency test contained in the student's handbook or on the worksheet that has been provided individually to check students' mastery of the subject matter. Okay, and the notes here during learning take place, the teacher observes the attitude of students in learning, which includes attitudes, discipline, self-confidence, behave honestly, resilient to deal with problems of responsibility, curiosity, care for the environment. Okay, next for the closing activity. Here, the closing activity, we talk 1 minute. The students making summary creativity with the guidance of the teacher about the important points that emerge in the new learning activities carried out. So, scheduling homework, scheduling projects that must be studied at the next meeting outside school hours or at home. So, the teacher checking the students' work completes immediately. Students who have completed the project correctly are initiated and given a ranking number for the project assessment. So, the last is give awards to groups that have good performance in collaboration. Okay. And now about the assessment, remedial, and enrichment. Here, assessment technique, effective, spiritual, and social. Observation or journal. Observation assessment is based on observing the attitudes and behaviors of students but relate to the learning process and in general the direct observation made by the teacher. The following are examples of attitudes assessment instruments. Okay, now you can see the example. So, the note here, R is religious, A, C is self-confidence, C, creative, and D, discipline. Okay, for the notes, you can see here the aspect of behavior judged by the criteria 100 is excellent, so 25 is I'm so sorry, I mean the 75 is good, 50 is adequate, and 25 is poor. And then next is maximal score. The number of attitude assists is multiplied by the number of the criteria that you can see the number. So affective score, so the score code or predicate, the score code I mean here. So the cognitive, speaking and writing test. So the psychomotor performance, from this learning process, the students are able to present procedure text in front of class about the recipes and manuals. Okay, now I will talk about the rubric. Here, the rubric penilaian, aspect of speaking assessment that you can see, right? So the points for the grammar, the points 5 until 1, the description, the number 5, equivalent to that of an educated native speaker. The 4, errors in grammar are quite rare. So the 3rd, control of grammar is good. The 2, doesn't have confident control of grammar. And the 1, errors in grammar are frequent. So the 2nd, I talk about the vocabulary. Here, for the points, it's the same. So the description, speech on all levels in fully accepted, can understand and participate in any conversation, broad enough that he rarely has to group for a word, so sufficient to express himself simply with some circumlocutions. And then inadequate to express anything but the most elementary needs. And so the conversation, the comprehension. The first is equivalent to that of an educated native speaker, can understand, participate in any conversation within the range of this experience. So quiet, complete at a normal rate of speech, topics that require no specialist knowledge, and then deliver with slow speech, repetitions or paragraphs. And then for the fluency, the speech is fully accepted by educated native speaker, able to use the language fluently all levels, rarely has to group for words, can handle with confidence but notes with facility, no specific phrase description. And for the pronunciation, here equivalent to and fully accepted by educated native speaker. Errors in pronunciation are quite rare. Errors never interfere with understanding. Accent is intelligible, talk often quite faulty, so errors in pronunciation are frequent but can be understood. Okay, now the last is test. Here, the speaking proficiency equivalent, can handle informal interpreting from and into language, can participate effectively in most formal and informal conversation, needs help in handling any complication and difficulties. So the last can ask and answer questions of topics familiar to him. That is the aspect of speaking assessment. The points just all of them for 5 until 1, right? Okay, now you can see the full score under. So next we are now we are going to explain about the aspect of writing assessment atau rubrik penilaian di pada skill writingnya. Di sini for the points I just talk for the 4th until 1. For the citability, the description, structure according to the type of description to the follows. So minimum structure according to the type of description, the choice of text is not clear and unstructured and difficult to understand. And then for the grammatical, right sometimes is not right, but it doesn't affect the meaning, so less phrases and affect meaning, difficult to understand. So for the vocabulary, okay, yeah, you can see the point, right? When I read that, you can see the point. Now, okay, for the vocabularies, the description, right, sometimes isn't right, but it doesn't affect the meaning, so less phrases and affect meaning, so difficult to understand atau sulit untuk dipahami ya. And then the last okay, and then the clarity of meaning here, very clear and very effective. For the fourth point, clear and effective, clear and ineffective, and so unclear. That for the one number. And then for the full score, you can see under the table, I mean. So there is the knowledge by the headmaster, Bapak Hambali SPD. So Banjarmasin 19 April 2020, the teacher by Fajar Tumoridia. Okay, that's all from me. I'm so sorry if there are mistakes in my lesson plan, in my explanation. I'm so sorry. And the last I see, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.